So we welcome in Irving Fishbaum, Ruvain Pollack, Baruch Ian Michal, Mark Frankel, Yitzi Padower. Yitzi, it's absolutely wonderful to have you. Eddie Chazan, Dr. Guy, Marshall Castle. Mo, are you feeling a little better, Mo? Every day a little better. Okay.
Every day a little better.
I'm really glad. You got to beat that. You got to beat that pneumonia.
Yes.
Yeah, you're looking good, Mo. You're looking good.
Yeah, but besides that, I have dialysis, and that's something new.
I hope it should only be temporary.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah. We're welcoming.
Commercial says Franks and bourbon to cure it all.
Welcome Saba and Aaron Swade and Mel Zachter and Mordechai Sultan, Nachman Chapler, Richard Rosenzweig, Rabbi Kranz, Moshe Jackson, who's in two places at once, Avram Shankman, Moshe Lehman, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Yitzi Muller, I'm not sure who Galaxy is, and we have here in Shul Barish Gesseman, Moshe Jackson, Reb Kramer, Reb Gedalia Engel, Reb Baruch Gold, and Reb Goldstein. As we learn, if you remember, we asked, what's the din if you wash one part of your hand till the knuckles, dry it, and then wash another part of the hand? What's the status of that? And we'll start again by 4 lines from the bottom of Tezvav Amid Beis, as we learn with the Tefillah that all children should be received in school pleasantly and easily. And we're going to learn from Mark Frankel's mother, who is in the hospital with COVID. And she should breathe easily and get home quickly. Osna Riva ben Toba Henya. She should have a refuah shalema b'sech shachel Yisrael. Says the Gemara, the kamoshi palga diyade. It's talking about where he washed half of his hands. The minimum is to wash to the knuckles. He washed half of his hand, dried it, and then washed the next half. So the Gemara says, "Va'amrei debei Rabbi Yanai, ein tahiris yadayim ein tahiris l'chatzayim." You can't wash the hand half and half. That's no good. That shouldn't be a shaila. Says the Gemara, "Leitzricha deika mashke toifeach." It's talking about that he washed the first half of the hand and he didn't dry it completely. It was still moist enough to wet something else. And then he washed the second half. Says the Gemara, so what? That still doesn't connect the two halves. Even if he washed that the first half is still somewhat moistened, that's still not enough to connect it to the second washing. V'atanan, for we learned, hanitzuk, if there is a flow. Now this flow is from a cup on top flowing into a cup on the bottom. V'akatafris, or a stream of water flowing from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain. Or a mashke toifeach, or liquid that's somewhat moistened. Einoi chibur. That doesn't connect it to what's next to it. If it was just a little moist, or if it was a flow from a cup on top to a cup on bottom, that doesn't connect the two cups. So if the cup on bottom is tamei, it doesn't make the cup on top tamei. And if you have water flowing down from a mountaintop, right, the water that's on top of the mountaintop isn't connected to the water below. That doesn't make a connection. Says the Gemara, Loila Tuma, it doesn't connect them to bring Tuma from the bottom to the top. v'loy l'tara, nor does it connect it if let's say, on the bottom you have 40 sa, but on the top you don't have 40 sa. The fact that it's flowing to the bottom doesn't it connect it to the top to give us 40 sa on top. Says the Gemara, Leitzricha, you know what it's talking about? De'ika toifeach latfiach. When you wash the first top of your hand, halfway to the knuckles, it remains so moist that when it touches a second thing, that second thing could moisten a third thing. So that's already very moist. It's talking about the ikatoifeach latfiach, that when it's so moist that when it touches a second thing, that second thing could moisten a third thing. Says the Gemara, well then, that's not a shaila the other way. So Hanami Tanina, we learned that too. Toifeach latfiach, if it's moist enough that when it moistens something else, it will moisten a third thing, that is a chibur, that is a connection. Says the Gemara, well, maybe we learned it's a connection for mikvahs. Dilma l'inyan mikvahs. Rabbi Yehuda, and that's according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's a famous halakha of Rabbi Yehuda. Ditnan, mikvah sheyesh by arbam sa mechuvanos. You have a mikvah that has the bare minimum, just exactly 40 sa. That's it, the bare minimum. V'yardu shnayim v'tovlu. And what happened is Berish and Gedalia went in to be tovel. B'zeh achazeh, if Gedalia went in first, and then Berish went in, so when Gedalia went in, some of the water got absorbed in his body. So now when Berish goes in, there's no 40 sa anymore. So if they immersed one after another, so Gedalia went in, he went out, he took some of the water with him, so there isn't 40 sa anymore. Then when Berish went in, it's a deficient mikvah. So Rishon tar, Gedalia is tar, Asheni tameh, but Berish remains tameh. Rabbi Yehuda says if Berish gets in while Gedalia's leg is still in the water, he's almost out, but his leg is still in the water, that attaches him to the water and everything on his body to the water. So Ima Yeraglav Shel Rishon Nogais B'mayim, if Gedalia's leg is still touching the water, Afasheni tar, then Berish is also tar. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. So the Gemara says, but it might be only for mikvahs, but we don't know if it will combine, even though if it's mashka toifeach latfiach, if it's moist enough, the upper part of the hand is still moist enough that when it touches a second thing, it'll moisten the third thing. We don't know if that's enough for the two to combine. And we want to welcome in again, Baruch. Baruch, it's hard to keep you here at the shir. What's going on over here? The presidential duties. You see, it's his press secretary that's calling him. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
He's got to get ready for the new elections. Well, presidents are always busy.
Nobody's running him against him. The only people that are running against him are running away from it, not running to it.
I got that problem on my shoulder too.
So anyway, people say that my presidents are a life sentence. It's a life sentence. I had some really chashuva presidents. Really, my first president, my founding president of my shul 40 years ago, Moshe Friedowitz, was president for 10 years. Not only was he a phenomenal president, he also founded the Willowbrook Retirement Kollel, and he had a lot to do with the building up of Sderot in Eretz Yisrael. He went on Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. And then I had a president who was my president for almost 15 years. He is a very chashuv yid by the name of Shmuel Leifer. He survived the World Trade Center falling down. He was on the 63rd floor of the first tower when the plane hit, and he got out. Anyway, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Hare Amru. Now this is a very interesting thing. The din is that if water could be metame you, how could water be metame? Tardika water could be metame. You see, what happened is when they went to the mikveh in the olden days, it wasn't clean water. Where did they have clean water? They didn't have. They went to the mikveh. It wasn't so clean. So after they came out of the mikveh, they wanted to take a shower. The problem is then people started making a mistake and thinking that it was the shower that did the tahara. And of course the shower doesn't do the tahara because it's mayim she'uvim. It's drawn water. So in order to dispel that notion, they said if you put mayim she'uvim on you, you become tamei. So nobody should think that it's the mayim she'uvim that makes you tahar. That's what they. So the din is haba roishe v'rubai b'mayim she'uvim. If you put your head and the majority of your body in drawn water, or v'tor shenoflu al roishe v'al rubai shloisha lugim mayim she'uvim, or a tar that falls on his head and the majority of his body, 3 lugin of drawn water, tameh. That's a tumah that they were geyser. It's from the Yud Ches Gezeirus. It's a tumah in order that people shouldn't think that that's what purifies a person. And if they would just say, well, if you do both, it's not the shower, that wouldn't be enough. So therefore they enacted that it should make you tummy. That way everybody will know that's not what does it. Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah says, what if you don't have the head and your majority of your body immersed in drawn water, and you don't have the head and the majority of your body with drawn water put on top of it? Instead, you have half and half. Chetzia b'biyah v'chetzia b'nefila. Half your body you have immersed in drawn water, and half your body you have the water poured on you. So you don't have either one the way of the takana of the chacham. Do you mix and match and make you tamei? Mai. So the Gemara says take it. We're not sure. Amra Papa. Now there's a din of Tfilas Ezra. Tfilas Ezra means that if somebody sees seminal issue, if somebody sees Kerry, he has relations with his wife. So we don't do this anymore. But there was a time that they were masakin what's called Tfilas Ezra. That before you could learn or you could daven, you have to go to the mikveh. So the question is, now, if a person is ill, and it's hard for him to go into his whole body into a cold mikveh, and he wants to learn. Now, if he wants to go into the base of Mikdash, then he's going to have to immerse himself. But the Tfilas Ezra is only rabbinical, so they were lenient for a chayla that he could put on himself tisha kavin of water, 9 kav of water. Now, even though that's metamehim, because we said drawn water is metameh, but it'll help that he should be able to learn Torah and to be able to daven. So the Gemara says, Amra Papa Hari Amru Bal Keri Chayla, somebody that saw a seminal issue or he had relations with his wife, and he's ill, and to go into a cold mikveh would be hard for him. Shenosno alev tisha kavim mayim, that they put a shower of 9 kavim of water tar. He's able to learn Torah and daven. Boira papa chetzia v'tfila v'chetzia b'nesina mai. Can they combine? Can he immerse half of his body in water and pour on half of his body the Tisha Kavin? Or do you need either the whole body immersed or the whole body Tisha Kavin? On this also the Gemara says, Teku, we'll have to wait for Mashiach. Now...
So, did we resolve this, Shiloh, then? We never resolved it.
No, we didn't resolve it.
Sounds almost like a Korach, Shiloh.
What does that mean?
Well, what did he ask about the tzitzis?
What does it have to do with the tzitzis? Here he's doing half and half. Both are valid. It's not valid to have a talus of tzitzis, of blue.
Okay, fine.
Also, during COVID, it was suggested that people, when they didn't go to the mikveh, they should take a shower enough time for.
That's correct. That's correct. Not only for during COVID, even people that are not well, or there are some people that are very prone to infection, if they have open wounds or something. So so if we could get them into the mikveh, the first one, so that's what we do with women, because women don't have the eitzah. So if a woman is I remember. Women that were on chemotherapy, I used to call mikvahs that they should be the first one into the mikvah, because they had to be very sensitive to. They didn't have any immune system, so they would arrange that they would be the first one into the mikvah. Okay, now. Echad b'fanei nichtav ve'echad b'fanei nechtam. Now, we learned in the Mishnah that if Marshall and Aaron brought a get from overseas, Marshall said b'fanei nichtav, and Aaron says b'fanei nechtam, it's no good. Now, it's no good because the din is that we only believe the shliach as two people. If only one of them is shliach and the other one says in front of me it was written or it was signed, but he's not a shliach, we don't believe him. And that's what the Gemara says. Shmuel bar Yehuda Amar Rabbi Yochanan, lo yishanu ela she'ein haget yotzei mintachas yedei shneim. That's only if the get is not coming from both of them. Aval get yotzei mintachas yedei shneim, but if the get is coming from both of them, Rashi seems to be that they're both holding the get and they both give it over to the woman, then it's kosher. And the reason why it's kosher is because Rabbi Yochanan holds, like Rava, that the reason why you have to say b'fanei nichtav or b'fanei nechtam is because there's nobody here in Eretz Yisrael to authenticate the signatures if the husband comes and screams that it's a forgery. But if two shluchim come and bring the get, they're living here now, they're going to be available. So the whole reason of b'fanei nechtam doesn't apply. Alma kisavish naim sheviu get medina sayam ain't tzrichen sheyaymer b'fanei nechtam. Amalei Abaye elamayata seifa diktani. The seifa that says shnayim aymer b'fanei nechtam, that both Aaron and Irving said in front of us it was written. And Marshall says in front of me it was signed. Even then it's possible. Rabbi Yehuda Machshir, the only time we say that it's going to be possible is only if they weren't both shluchim. Taima de eina get yotzim tachas yedei shneim. It's not coming from two of them. Ha get yoytze mitachas yedei shneim, but if it's coming from two of them, machsherei rabbanon, the rabbanon would be machsher, because then there's two people that know about the signatures, and once there's two people that know about the signatures, you don't even have to say b'fani nechta, b'fani nechta. Amalayin, yes. Says the Gemara, the chi ain't get yoytze mitachas yedei shneim b'may pligi. But what are they arguing about where Marshall says in front of me it was signed, and Aaron and Irving say in front of them it was written, and the get is not coming for, it's only, let's say it's only coming from Marshall. So then what are they arguing? That the Rabbanan say it's no good, and Rabbi Yehuda says it is good. But Mike Pligi says the Gemara, Mar Savar, one holds. Remember we said we're worried that if we allow ourselves to confirm this get just with Marshall, just with one witness, b'fanei nechtam, we're afraid that we might come to say that that's good by promissory notes and deeds of sales as well. We might say that that's also good. So therefore we necessitated that it has to be also b'fanei nechtam. And we necessitated that the one that says b'fanei nechtam has to be the one that also says b'fanei nechtam. And here it's not true. Marshall only could say b'fanei nechtam. So Marsaver Gazrina Dilma Asya Lichlufe became Shtaris Alma, that we might come to say that just like we trust Marshall to confirm the get, Beit Echad, we might come to also say that one witness is good by promissory notes and deeds of sale. Marsaver, while Rabbi Yehuda says, come on, the fact that we needed Aaron and Irving to say b'fanei nechtav, that shows that this is different. You see that it's only normally by other documents you don't have to say that. So the Gemara says, "Omar Sava like Gazrinan." Since we need now the Rabbanan say the takana was only if the shliach that says b'fanei nechtam also says b'fanei nechtam. Here it's not so. Marshall is the shliach. He says b'fanei nechtam, and he can't say b'fanei nechtam. So the Tanakama says we're geyser dilma asila chlufei but other stories. The Rabbi Yehuda says, come on, we know it's different because by other stories we don't need this b'fanei nechtam at all. Here we need the b'fanei nechtam, even though it's not the shliach, but we have two other people that say it, so we know it's different. We're not going to come to compare. Now we got a Lishna Achrina. I have to tell you that I learned this Lishna Achrina, this piece of Gemara, I would say about 5 times. And then I spoke about it to 2 different Talmidei Chachamim, which is not something that I usually do when I prepare a Gemara. But they had to get out their library and look at certain things, because I have 2 separate ways to learn this entire Gemara. Don't worry, I'm not gonna go into it with you and drive you crazy, because Baruch says he has other presidential duties to do tonight. I think he's traveling to Toronto yet tonight, but well, you have to give an address in the stadium over there. No, not throwing out the first pitch and no. Yeah. Good for you. You must be tired. Bravo to you that you come at all. You probably come just because you're afraid that I might kill you. Well, if that's, then it's very accurate because I have sharpshooters right near your house right now. I just called them off. Tell your wife that you have to come. It's a matter of life and death. He doesn't believe me. He doesn't believe me. Marsh is lucky he's in Philadelphia. If he was here, I don't know.
Relax, glance at it. I'm not dangerous.
Lishna Achrina. Lishna Achrina Imrela. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda Amar Rav Yochanan. Rav Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav Yochanan, you know something? Even if the get comes Marshall says b'fanei nichtav, and Aaron says Marshall says b'fanei nichtav, and Aaron says b'fanei nichtav, and they're both shluchim. Even so, it's no good. Whew.
That undermines because they were learning so far.
Yeah. Let's see.
Pull the rug out.
Right? Amar Rav Shmuel by Yehuda Amar Rav, Amar Reb Yochanan, afilu get yoytze mitachas yidei shneim, even if the get is coming from both of them, they're both shluchim, still possible. Alma kesavish naim shivya get mebdinas yam, even though they both brought the get, srichim sheyamar b'faneinu nichta b'faneinu nichta. Now why? Why? Like Berish says, he's hopping mad. He says, that mixes me all up. We learned not that way. We said if there's two witnesses, they're available now to confirm it if needed. You don't even need to have b'fanei nechta. Here's the reason. First the Gemara says, Amalei Abaye Elamiata Sefer Diktani Shnayim Oimim B'faneinu Nichtav. And I should tell you, even before we go further, I should tell you that what's the svara? The Gemara is going to say that the svara is that Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbah, that we need the b'fanei nechtam because they don't know lishma. And since they don't know lishma, you need to have b'fanei nechtam, even if two are a shliach. Because even if two are a shliach, it doesn't help. You can't say, well, they're available to be mekayim, but we don't know if it was written lishma. So they have to say b'fanei nechtam, even if they're two. But why isn't it good? One said b'fanei nechtam and one said b'fanei nechtam. The answer is that we only believe them when it's coming from one person. We can't mix and match. We can't say, well, he said b'fanei nechtam and he said b'fanei nechtam. No, it has to come. The Torah gave belief to one person, and he has to say b'fanei nechtam. But the reason why it's not good without anything is because it's going according to Rabbah, that says we need the information about Lishma. We don't, even though we have two people and now they're available, but if they don't say b'fanei nechtam, we don't know if it's written Lishma. But the plot thickens. The Gemara says, Lishnach, says the Gemara, that both Irving and Aaron said in front of us what is written, and Marshall says in front of me it was signed, Puzzle, Reb Yehuda Machshir, and Reb Yehuda says it's okay. That's even if two of them were a shliach. That's afilu get yoytze mitachas yidei shneim, even if the get comes from the two of them, pasle rabbanan pasle. Amalei, he says in. Why? Let's analyze this case now. Let's analyze this case. Marshall says b'fanei nichtam. Aaron and Irving say b'fanei nichtav. And the get comes from two of them. Why would the Rabbanan say it's possible? Als mitzuyin l'kaima, als you need witnesses to authenticate it. It's no problem at all. Two people are here. So two people are here. You don't even have that problem. And als b'fanei nichtav, you have two people that say it's written lishma. Both Aaron and Irving say in front of us it was written. So both Rabbah and Rava, why should it be a problem? So you got to hear what the problem is. In this case, less is more. In the event that there would be nobody that said b'fanei nechtam, maybe the get would be good. Because you have two people that are available, so you don't need it to be confirmed. and you have two witnesses that it say in front of us it was written, and it's Lishma. But here we got a problem. You have one witness that says B'fanei Nechtav. And we might think that since we trust this one witness, we might trust this one witness even by a deed of sale and by a promissory note. But you say, but we have two witnesses that say B'fanei Nechtav, and by other things we don't need that, so it shows that it's different. No, it's not because it shows that it's different. You need it because otherwise we don't know it's Lishma. So that's why it's a problem. But that's only a problem according to the Rabbanan that hold like Rabbah, that you need the two people that say B'fanei Nechtav because of Lishma. Rabbi Yehuda says it's good. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda says we're not worried about Lishma. Why do we have Aaron and Irving saying B'fanei Nechtav? That's just coming to tell us that we shouldn't be machlefit by other shtaros. So then according to him, it's good. Let's see it inside. This is the way the Ritva learns in the Gemara. Let's see it inside. B'maika miflegi, mar sava lefi she'ein b'kiyum lishma. The Rabbanan hold that the reason is also, remember everybody holds about Mitzvah and the Kaimah, but the Rabbanan hold you also need witnesses to prove that it was written lishma. Since you need the two witnesses, Aaron and Irving, that say B'fanei Nechtav to know that it was written lishma, therefore you can't say that, well, the fact that we need only one witness for B'fanei Nechtav, we're not going to mistake it for other shtaras, because you see we need B'fanei Nechtav over here. No, B'fanei Nechtav you need because of a different reason. So therefore, the Rabbanan say it's no good because Asi lechlufe b'shtaras di alma. While Mar Savar, the Rabbi Yehuda holds, lefi she'ein edim mitziyim l'kaimai. Oh, if it's only I'll say edim mitziyim l'kaimai, then why do you need? Really, you don't need anything because there's two shluchim. But we say the fact that you have, one signed. Marshall saying B'fanei Nechtav, you might think that, well, other shtaros also, but you won't think that because you need the two to say B'fanei Nechtav, or at least one to say B'fanei Nechtav, which is different than other shtaros. And you don't say, but the fact that we have saying B'fanei Nechtav tells Lishma because Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold that way. Says the Gemara, but that's a problem because that means Rabbah and Rava are really a machlokes, Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda. And we don't like to do that because then Rabbah should have just said, I hold like the Rabbanan, and Rabbah should have just said, I hold like Rabbi Yehuda. We don't like Lema de Rabbah v'Rava Tanohi. Says Gemara like Rava Metaritz Kilish Nekama. Rava says I don't hold like the second version. I hold like the first version. And in the first version, the question was where it was where they weren't shluchim. And the question was, if they aren't shluchim, the fact that you have two witnesses that say B'fanei Nechtav, is that enough to say that we're not worried about l'chlufei shtaros d'alma? V'rabba amalach dekuli alma b'inun lishma. Everybody holds lishma. If everybody holds lishma, then what's going on over here? What's going on over here is in the case where Irving and Aaron say B'fanei Nechtav, it's not necessary anymore. Because overseas they already educated everybody in Lishma. Oh, if they already learned it already, it's not needed. And then the fact that they say B'fanei Nechtav, that is proof that you shouldn't make a mistake and say it's good for other shtaros. So then why do Rabbanan still passel? They only argue about whether we're worried that if we allow it now, we might come to allow it also if they forget about it overseas. If they forget about Lishma. The Ma'asava Gazrin, under Rabbanan hold we decree, or Ma'asava Lei Gazrin. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, then Rabbi Yehuda should argue in the first case of the Mishnah too. If it's talking about where they're both shluchim, and it's talking about where one said b'fanei nichtav, or b'fanei, and one says b'fanei nechtam, and the Rabbanan say it's possible, and Rabbi Yehuda says it's kosher, because he's not worried that Shema Yazer Davar L'Kilkulai, so you should argue in the first case too. Says the Gemara, you're right. So the Gemara says, Master Rabbi Oishir La'ula, Rabbi Yehuda Machshir Bezu V'loi Ba'acheres. Rabbi Yehuda argues in this case and not in another case. My love, Lemute Echad Amma B'fanei Nichtav, Echad Amma B'fanei Nechtam, where one says B'fanei Nichtav and one says B'fanei Nechtam, even if they're both Shluchim. So the Gemara says, no, that's not the case that Rabbi Yehuda is Machshir. Not in that case. That's not the case where Rabbi Yehuda says it's no good. The case where Rabbi Yehuda says it's no good, where all Marshall said is b'fanei nechtam and not b'fanei nichtav. Now, why does Marshall have to say b'fanei nichtav? We're only doing it in order to authenticate the shtar. We don't hold of b'kiyan l'shma. So why, if he doesn't say b'fanei nichtav, or even if you do hold b'kiyan l'shma, but they already know about it, and we're not worried of Shema Yazer Davar L'Kilkulai, so why isn't it good? Says the Gemara, so the reason why it's no good is if you only say b'fanei nechtav and you don't say b'fanei nichtav, we're going to make a mistake and say that promissory notes and real estate documents are also good with one person. So, but I might think that if Rabbi Yehuda is not worried about a gezerah, that it might they might forget about Lishma again overseas. He's not worried also about the gezerah that you might mistake Gittin and promissory notes. So kedai techamina hoyu v'loy gazer Rabbi Yehuda gezerah shema yazer davar l'kilkulai. The gezerah dilma lasi l'chlufei b'kim shnaris ta'alma beid echad, that you might come to switch it for Kim Shtaris with one witness, Nami like Gazer. I might think he also doesn't decree. Kamash Malan. Now, remember, in the Lishna Basra, Reb Yochanan had said that, in the Lishna Basra, Reb Yochanan had said that the Machlokes is even if both of them are Shluchim. And the Gemara says, Itmar Nami Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda has this version, Shnayim Sheviu Get Mibdin Nesiyam, even if both are Shluchim, Banu L'Machlokes Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbana. Rabbi Bar Chana Cholish. Rabbi Bar Chana took ill. Ol Gabei Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabba L'Shiyulei. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabba went to inquire about him. This is a very interesting thing. When it talks about Bikur Chaylim, the Gemara says the key word that they went l'shiyulei bey, to ask about him. Because when you go to do Bikur Chaylim, you're not just visiting, you're going to see if the Chaylim needs something. That's why it's called Bikur Chaylim. Bikur means examination, like Bikur Mumim. You're going to examine if the chayla needs something. They went to inquire about it. This is very important. People go and Bikur Chaylim, they sit around, they say inane stuff. You go and you're supposed to inquire. Are you getting enough food? Good food? These are good things to inquire about. Are you occupied enough in the day? Maybe you need a computer to hook up to a share to watch some Torah videos. Maybe you need an interesting novel. And I was, maybe you want to see someone. Maybe I could bring you something from work to look at. But, yeah, all these things, you inquire. Is there something we could do to tell the nurses that you need? So they asked him, here, when they used to visit great people, they knew that Torah would be mesamech them. Right? Pekudei Hashem Yeshar mesamech elei. So Bo'omine, also, they would want to show Hashem that the person is needed. So they would come to ask questions to show Hashem, we need this person. So Bo'omine, Shnayim Sheviu get Mimdina Siyam, two people that bring a get from overseas, Tzrichen Sheyamer B'fanei Nichta B'fanei Nechtam, do you have to say B'fanei Nichta B'fanei Nechtam? Ain't Tzrichen. So like Berish said, this is going to restore Berish, his faith in humanity. Like Berish said, it's not necessary. There are two people already here. If there is a problem, they're available. Amalan ain't Tzrichen. If they would have simply said in front of us she was divorced, aren't they believed? So once we have two people and they're available to confirm the signature, that's enough. Now, as they were talking, it was a pagan holiday. And the Persian fire worshippers, when it was a pagan holiday, they had a rule that you only could have a candle in their church. And in honor, no one else could have a candle. And here they were learning in candlelight. So Adahochi also Chavra, this Persian clergy came, Shakla l'shraga mikamayu, and confiscated their light. Because it was their holiday, you're not allowed to have a light. Omar, so Rabbi Barbachana said a tefillah. Rahman, a merciful one, O betulech, let us live in your shadow, Oy betula de bar Esav, or at least in the shadow of Rome, because they're relatives of ours. They're our cousins. Says the Gemara, L'meimra da'arumoy ma'alum meparsoi. Is that true that the Romans are better than the Persians? V'tani Rebbe Chia, ma'idechsiv elikim haven darka, God knows our way, v'hu yoda es mekayme, and He knows the place that we should be. He knew that we wouldn't be able to withstand the Romans. The Romans were merciless. He knew we wouldn't be able to withstand the Romans. So Ahmad, he went ahead and he sent us down to Babel. Ahmad v'higloi some the Babel. So you see, the Romans are terrible. Says Gemara, yeah. But when the Persians came to Babel, the fire-worshipping Persians were even more sadistic. One was before the Persians, Kairish and his like, came to Babel. When the Persians came, the Persians were even more cruel. And then it was better to be under the reign of Esav than the reign of the Persians. 10:15 again on Motzei Shabbos.